Hello everybody, Treno here, and welcome to the new dev blog for the upcoming Fire and Ice update. Today we will be looking at, as you can see on screen, the Fuso battleship, which is the lead ship of a pair of battleships built for the Japanese Navy before World War I. It was completed during World War I, and it is a pre-World War I design, but of course it was updated throughout the interwar period and during World War II, making this a lot better than it was when it was first completed. So as we can see here, it's going to be a rank 5 battleship in the Japanese tech tree, and as it says, devastating large caliber guns, good armour protection, numerous AA weapons, although not particularly good ones as we'll see later on, and low mobility. And we've got a little bit of history about the ship. As it says here, HMS Dreadnought and HMS Invincible created two new classes of ship, Dreadnoughts and battlecruisers. And this was a bit of a problem for Japan because all of their ships were basically obsolete overnight. And unfortunately for the Japanese, they couldn't really afford to make many new ships. So at first they ordered 4 battlecruisers, the Kongo class, which we already have in game, and what we have at the moment, the Fuso, though of course it would be joined by a sister ship, the Yamashiro, at a later date. And didn't really have much service during World War I because the Central Powers had been kicked out of Asia by then, so just training missions and free constructions throughout the interwar period. But despite this, by World War II it was a dated design, and so was relegated to mostly an auxiliary role. As it does mention down here, it did take part in the Battle of Leyte Gulf with our sister ship, the Yamashiro, and they were both sunk in the Battle of Sarajevo Strait in October of 1944. Fuso was, I believe, sunk by a torpedo, and went down pretty quickly after that. But looking how it will be in War Thunder, it will be coming in its late World War II refit configuration, which will mean a lot of anti-aircraft batteries will have been added to the ship compared to its pre-World War II configuration. So what have we got for main armament? 6 twin 14-inch or 356mm turrets, which should put it on par with the Hyuga already in-game at battle rating 7.0 for its main battery. As you can hopefully see in this picture, it's got 2 at the front of the ship, 2 at the back of the ship, and then you've got 2 amidships. So pretty good lines of 5, you get a full broadside. But even if you've only got your front turrets going or your first 3, you're still going to have a decent amount of firepower coming out of your ship. Now the secondary battery is a little bit different to the Hyuga. It has slightly bigger caliber weapons, 152mm versus 140 for the Hyuga, though of course that has 20, so the Fuso's only got 16. However, we do have 4 dual 5-inch 127mm dual-purpose batteries as well, meaning we should have about 24 guns for the secondary armament. And of course we also have the anti-air battery, which it says is an impressive 89 25mm cannons, which is split into 16 dual, 8 triple and 33 single turrets, but as I recall these cannons were not particularly great. They're pretty short-ranged, so even if you end up damaging or shooting down an enemy aircraft, it's still going to have got into range to launch its torpedoes or rockets. And it also mentions 10 heavy machine guns, which that's just going to be laughably useless against most enemy aircraft. Again, like I said, you might be able to damage or destroy them, but not before they cause damage to you or launch their weapons at you. And of course, if you're in a high altitude bomber with, say, Fritz X bombs or something, most of that armament is not going to be able to touch you. Now, we get a bit of information about the main belt, which is 305mm thick, which is a tad thicker than with the Hyuga, which I believe maxes out at around 299 or thereabouts. And as it does say, it is a standard figure found on most contemporary battleships of the time period, so it's not going to be particularly noteworthy, but it's not bad either. And we do get an armour figure for the main turrets and the conning tower. So 279 for the main turrets and 305mm for the conning tower. I believe the turret armour is slightly worse than the Hyugas, which I believe goes up to about 305mm, and is about the same as with the Hyuga for the conning tower. And it also mentions it has a large crew of 1900 sailors, which is one of the largest complements in the game. Again, to compare that to the Hyuga, that only has about 1,360, so we've got a 540-man advantage in sailors. As a result of this, the ship has a displacement of 35,900 tonnes, which, with its 75,000 horsepower propulsion, gets your top speed up to about 21 knots, or as it says here, 39 kilometers an hour. If I've done my maths correctly, that's about 0.8 of a knot faster than the Hyuga, so broadly the same as that vessel. It does say it's rather average mobility in comparison to other contemporary battleships, So again, not particularly groundbreaking, but not awful either. And this vessel will be coming in the next update, which, as I said, is going to be called the Fire and Ice update. Which, if I was to speculate, I suspect this is going to have something to do with Finland, if I was to guess. Because we've already got most icy nations, except for Finland, which I suspect is going to be in the Swedish tech tree. But moving back to the Fuso, I think this will be a good addition to the game. I think it will be broadly around the same as the Hyuga. It's better in some ways, worse in others. Not a groundbreaking vehicle, but not a bad one either. I've only just started getting into naval myself, like very recently, so I'm hoping I'll be able to unlock this vehicle fairly soon once the updates come out. And yeah, I'm quite looking forward to playing this vehicle. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'm Toreno, and I'll see you next time.